7-year-old Cookie was looking very excitedly at the moon and exclaimed, "Dada, look! The moon is big and blue today!" Dada, her 10-year-old older brother, just laughed and said, "Cookie, you silly child, the moon is certainly big today, but it's not blue." "The moon can never be blue." But Cookie insisted. She said, "No, look, I found it in the dictionary. It says, if they say the moon is blue, we must believe that it is true." Dada laughed and said, "Cookie, that was just a poet writing 500 years back to say that something isn't happening." Cookie did not understand this. Why go the roundabout way to say something is not happening? Dada laughed and said, "Well, that's because long time ago, when people wanted to say that something is never likely to happen, they would refer to the false moon." False moon? Well, Cookie only knew that there was one moon, and that one she could see from her window. What was this false moon? Looked like there was a story. Dada took a deep breath and said, "Well, Cookie, long time ago, and I mean long time ago when there were no calendars, that time people would decide on important dates by looking at the timing of the moon. The full moon used to indicate all their important festivals and timing for farming and harvesting. When there were 12 moons, everyone knew that they were on time. But sometimes there used to be a 13th moon." Cookie was really very interested now. 13 itself sounded so mysterious, and now it looked like it was going to cook up some trouble. And she was right. Dada said, "You see, Cookie, the moon takes 29 and a half days to go around the earth. So every 30 days there would be a full moon. Sometimes because of this time to go around the earth, there would be 13 moons because of 12 moons. Now this 13th moon would confuse people. And so people started referring to this as the false moon, the betraying moon, the Beleve moon." Beleve moon? Dada, is that Beleve moon now called the blue moon? Oh, Dada was so happy to find that his sister was so quick to understand that. He said, "Well, yes, the Beleve moon is now called the blue moon." So does that mean that the moon is actually not blue? Dada confirmed that indeed it's not. But he said, if there are big particles in the air, they can scatter the light from the moon, giving it a bluish tinge. But Dada, how do we know whether a moon is blue or not if the color isn't blue? Dada said, "Well, every 30 days we are supposed to have a full moon, which means if a month has 30 days or more, there's sure to be at least one full moon. But if the month is February, then it's quite likely that there will not be a full moon in that month. The full moon for Feb goes to either Jan or March or both. Usually both. These moons are now called as the blue moons, and this happens once every 19 years. Ooh, Dada, the moon, if it came down and got caught in the branches of a tree, wouldn't it be nice?" Dada laughed and said, "Cookie, you silly child, the moon is far, far away. How can anyone catch it? And Cookie, so totally in love with this mysterious moon, wouldn't give up. She said, "Well, when Ma looks at us from the balcony, would you say that she is far, far away?" Dada said, "Okay, but where will you find a net big enough to catch that moon?" Cookie said, "Dada, I will catch it with both my hands." And Dada said, "Cookie, you are the silliest child I've ever known. The moon is so big. If it came close to you, you would know." And Cookie said, "Dada, what nonsense they teach you at school. When Ma bends down to kiss us, would you say that her face is so big and far away?" While Cookie and Dada were arguing about the moon, Ma herself entered, and Cookie went running to her, threw her arms around her, and said, "Ma, I want to make friends with the moon, but Dada is not helping." And Ma said, "Cookie, my child, how nice of you to befriend the moon. But tell me, why do you want to disturb the moon? Isn't it busy going around the world?" And Cookie smiled and said, "I know, Ma. That's why I want to make friends with it. It goes around the world and it sees so many people, so many things. It would have so many stories to tell." And Ma said, "Well, if you want to hear stories, why not befriend the stars? The stars have more stories to tell you than the moon." This was news to Cookie. She looked intently at Ma and asked her to say more. Ma took Cookie on her lap, pointed at the night sky, and said, "Cookie, my dear, look at that group of stars." And Cookie looked intently. And Ma asked, "What do you see?" And she said, That looks like a bear." And Ma said, "Well, yes, it is a bear." "But what's a bear doing in the sky, Ma?" And Ma said, "Well, some hunters have chased the bear, and so now it's running away from them and has reached the sky. One hunter's arrow has hit the bear and he's got a wound. But the wound is not big, it's not very painful, so he can still keep running. But do you know, Cookie, sometimes the wound becomes really very painful and then blood falls from it. And that blood falls down on earth, and that's when we have autumn. After some time, the wound becomes okay and is back to running." Ooh. Cookie was now hooked. She wanted to know more stories hidden in the stars. And so Ma pointed her to another group of stars and asked her what she saw. Cookie looked intently and said, "Ma, looks like it's somebody sitting." And Ma said, "Yes, it is an old woman sitting on her cot." "But Ma, why is she sitting? Why doesn't she go to sleep?" Good question. Ma said if she went to sleep, then thieves will come and steal away her cot. And to stop these thieves from their mischief, she is staying awake. Ooh, so can I bother this old lady with stories? Maybe she can tell me some, I can tell her some. Ma laughed and said, "Well, why not?" And then, by now, Cookie herself was discovering more stories. She caught hold of Ma's face and said, "Ma, look, that's a prince." And Ma said, "Oh, is it?" Cookie said, "Yes, that's a prince. He just saved the princess from a deadly snake. And now they are getting married." Ma was very happy to see Cookie takes so much interest in the stars, the night sky, and stories. And she put Cookie to bed, leaving the window open and making sure that Cookie had a nice time talking to the stars. And Cookie, the little child, fell asleep talking to the stars, telling them stories and listening to them.